Welcome to today's Destination Unknown. I'm your host, Alyssa Hall. Today, I wanted to take a moment to really start diving into some world cultures. As I was putting together the schedule for the month of September, what I noticed is all the videos were happening on days which naturally occurred as holidays. They're holidays around the world in different cultures, different religions, different beliefs. And to me, one of the things we've talked about a lot here on the channel is I find it so fascinating how different ideas will kind of dovetail into each other when you begin to study them and break them down. And I noticed that with the two that I'm here to be talking about today that are happening right now in current time. So yesterday was Labor Day here in America. That's September 6th. But September 6th, the evening of September 6th, marks the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, which is the first festival slash holiday that I wanted to talk to you about today that's happening this particular week around the world. So Rosh Hashanah literally means the head of the new year or the head of the year. It is a celebration for the Jewish New Year. And in Hebrew is where they come from the term head of the year for Rosh Hashanah. And literally, sometimes you will see the greeting. I've written everything down here in my notes, Shana Tova, and apologies in advance if I'm saying anything either from this part or the next part incorrectly. These are not my mother languages. I did try to study them, but please do correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. Shana Tova is Happy New Year, is how you would wish that to one of your fellow Judaic brothers and sisters. So what is Rosh Hashanah? How is it celebrated? And what is the essence of the concept? Is it the same as the American New Year where we party hardy? Little different is what I've found by studying it. So it is the first of the high holidays, or what they call the 10 days of awe. And these days of awe, A-W-E, awe, like awesome. These, which is fabulous, the days of awe. I really liked that when I wrote that down. I thought, wow, that's so dramatic. I really loved that as a way to describe your high holidays. And the first evening of Rosh Hashanah kicks off this celebration, which lasts for 10 days. And it's a time where in the Judaic culture, they take a moment for a lot of reflection and a way to, as the celebration continues, they look for repentance and atonement for anything that they have transgressed against someone in this past year. So it's not at all uncommon for the celebration itself to be very different from the American versions of the New Year. Here we're going to have much more, as you might expect. It's a religious holiday, so it's going to have religious readings that you might do, as well as candles that are lit as a way to commemorate and celebrate with this. It is the 10 days that end with Yom Kippur, which we'll also be talking about later also, that bookend the entire cycle of this time period for the Judaic culture. And it begins by the proclaiming of God as King of the universe. I won't lie, that phrase gave me a little bit of a pause. It sounded like something that I might have heard back in the 80s with Marvel and He-Man and King of the Universe. I don't know, but I don't mean any disrespect to the culture or their religion. So it's begun with the sounding of the shofar, which is a ram's horn, and that is the proclamation which announces God as King of the universe, as the power almighty that we are beholden to in our lives, that we want to atone ourselves to and align ourselves with the power of good within God. So, in particular, it talks about the relationship that humans have with God. And that's very different. And the fact that it lasts for almost 2 weeks, that 10 days, gives a lot of time of reflection. So, this is a time in the Judaic culture where they are looking to not just revel and bring in good thoughts and new experiences and new ideas, but they also want to take an assessment and take responsibility for any of the problems, transgressions that any mess is what I call it when I teach my kids. If you make a mess, you clean it up. And that could be a literal mess, or it can be a mess that we make in our lives. And that to me is what this atonement process, it's about really taking accountability for what you've done, the words you've said, the actions you've said, falling out. If you've had a falling out with somebody, it might be time to take stock of that relationship and bring all of these moments to God as a way to also begin to enrich yourself as a better person by taking responsibility, atoning, and asking for forgiveness for things that we've done wrong. It also asks that we really recommit ourselves. So, one of the things that I thought was so interesting about Rosh Hashanah is it really is not just a call to God, like we just said, it's a call to the Godhead within us. It's a reminder, as I see it, of our own power and that we have that responsibility. We are acting in alignment with the Godhead, God's force, however we perceive that, that is part of ours to channel and to use responsibly in our lifetime. Some of the traditions, like we said, Shana Tova means a good year. And you might also attend a synagogue or spend some time with friends and family as a way to mark the passing of Rosh Hashanah. You might also wear white and or new clothes. These symbolize purity. So again, the idea that we're leaving our transgressions behind, we're starting with a clean slate for our new year. And that by doing that, we're not just doing that by saying, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm free. Sorry about what I did in the past." We take that moment to really be responsible in an emotional setting and take that responsibility back onto the actions and things that we've done in the year. I love that. So each morning the shofar is sounded during Rosh Hashanah, and each evening candles are lit as a way of remembrance during this holiday. The first day of it, I hope I say this right, the tashlish or tashlik maybe, ceremony is performed. This is a ceremony where they visit fresh bodies of fresh water. Now, specifically, it's believed that you can cast your sins away, that this water, again, is a way to cleanse yourself, to make yourself free, to start that new year again, cleansed and atoned and ready to let go of the transgressions from the previous year and start with that clean slate again. So we see fresh water as a form of ritual being used for that. And last thing I would mention about it is food. Food is always a big part of so many different holidays. One of my favorite parts of anybody's holiday ever, I won't lie. So some of the foods that they tell you during Rosh Hashanah, the idea is that you want to avoid spicy, sharp food, anything that might cause you distress, because that's going to invite that distress into the setting of the new year. And instead you want sweet foods, foods that are very natural, very, very sweet, and very easy to eat. Some of the examples they gave were apples dipped in honey as a traditional food, and also challah, the bread, egg bread dipped in honey, as another one. Even pomegranate seeds were also mentioned as a food that could represent the seeds themselves representing wealth. And so that would be another food that might also be traditionally served or enjoyed during Rosh Hashanah. So, dovetailed into this from our Judaic culture, I'm going to hop over to a different culture in the Hindu religion, where they're currently about to celebrate a holiday called Chaturthi. Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganesh Yeah, Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganesha, I most often use the term Ganesha. Ganesha has 108 different names, so if you prefer Ganesh or Ganesha, that's who I'm talking about. That's the elephant-headed god. I wish I should have had one of I have so many around the house and I didn't think to grab one for taping. But Ganesha is an elephant-headed god, and Ganesh Chaturthi is the festival which celebrates his birth. So again, like we're proclaiming God here in Rosh Hashanah, here we're proclaiming a different God and the birth of this God. How did Ganesha get his elephant head is one of the great stories that comes from Indian mythology. So the god Ganesha, or Ganesh, is believed to be the remover of obstacles. He also is known to be the god of wisdom and prosperity. And so bringing those aspects into your life during this time of year, again, there's some dovetailing that we're calling in wisdom, prosperity, and that we're looking to celebrate the birth of a godhead. This particular god was given form in Indian mythology by the following story. The goddess Parvati was bathing And in order to bathe privately, she created a child made of sandalwood, and she let that child discard sentry to her bathing area. However, her husband Shiva returned from a long campaign, and having missed his wife greatly, he sought to go reunite with her in her bathing chambers, but was stopped at the door. In a rage, Shiva cut off the head of the one who stopped him so that he might best be with his consort, his wife, Parvati. Parvati was heartbroken to see what had happened of her creation, her child, and she asked Shiva to make it right. Shiva, seeking to do so, said, I will use the head of the first living creature that I see to replace the life and give life again to the one that I have taken. And that, of course, was an elephant, which is why we see an elephant head on Ganesha's human form body. That's an interesting story. What does it teach us? I would ask you that. Are there any meta messages? Is there anything about atonement, jumping to conclusions, acting out of wrath and anger with half the information and not the full information? Is there also a goddess figure who is appealing to your feminine side? Water will come back again. Not only is Parvati bathing, but in Ganesh Chaturthi, now that begins, like I said, I think I said on Friday, September 10th is when it begins this year. And that's a 10-day festival. There's another 10 days, so there's another dovetail. So it's a 10-day festival which worships Ganesha. And in the beginning of this festival, it's very common for people to bring together or to even fashion their own out of clay and mud figures of Ganesha as a way to revere and worship the figurehead and what he represents. At the end of this holiday, people will often take their figures, their figurines of Ganesha, and immerse them in water. If the figurines are made of clay, they might immerse them in water with the idea that they will then completely disintegrate. That's believed our ability to return back to the source, to return back to the Godhead. And so we see that dissolving also taking its own meta message, a metaphor for us in the celebration here as well. Now, some of the ways that they might celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi in India are similar. So you're going to have puja, which is service that you go to the temple. So the same as the synagogue, you might go and have service or time with family and friends as a way to celebrate for Rosh Hashanah. And then over here on Ganesh Chaturthi, you might go to the temple for puja, which is your worship service there, as well as spending time within the home and making the home a place that worships Ganesha. All of the Ganesh stuff comes out and gets lots of love. Decorations, candles will come forth, lighting candles as a way to represent our belief as well. So yes, there's another dovetail, and here's another cool one. Ganesha is known for being a sweet tooth. You will often see a bowl of sweets kind of figured in a lot of the pictures of Ganesha or the figurines. You'll see his mouse, which we won't get into today, but you'll also often see a bowl of sweets, or sometimes he'll be holding a bowl of sweets. Sweets are very much associated with Ganesha, and so therefore sweet food, yet again, dovetails into this celebration as well, where it's believed that by offering and by enjoying these sweet foods, both those that we offer and then those that we take home, that we are meant to enjoy, that we're again spreading that sweetness, we're spreading that joy, we're spreading, inviting in the auspiciousness and the sweetness of what we eat symbolically as a way to bring that in for the coming year also. So while Ganesh Chaturthi is not a New Year celebration, it is celebrated annually, and it does have all of these. It's a celebration of the beginning, the birth of Ganesh. So that would be a similarity, but not quite the same, because it's not a New Year's holiday. That's very different. We won't. That's Lakshmi, so we'll get to that one another day. Anything else? Okay, so the last thing I guess I have here on my notes for us to talk about for today's celebrations is again that water aspect, because water is something that you will see again and again being used symbolically in so many religions. It's something we're going to continue talking about here on the channel, but I encourage you, that's another easy way for us to simply get ourselves into a moment in our own environment, get in the bath, create this water environment where you can release and also cleanse. A lot of releasing and cleansing is a lot to do with the water imagery, that we're going to start over, we're going to start fresh, we're going to make atonement for the mistakes we've made in the past. We're not just going to forget about them and move on. And that's how we're going to start with a clean slate for our new year, or to start with more of the Godhead in our life because it's been dissolved and it's now available for everyone. Thank you for joining me today for our discussion. We're going to have some more stuff to talk about here on the videos this month. There are so many really cool holidays from around the world, and I hope this kind of gets you interested in a couple. If you want to borrow from another culture, read up on it. I encourage you to bring prosperity and joy into your life, however it speaks to you. And as always, thank you for joining me here on the channel today. Keep listening.